So let's look at tye. So we have three types of tye, which is tenses in English. We have teenwoordige tyd, we have verlede tyd, and we have toekomende tyd. So we have quite a lot of rules that we need to follow when we do tye. So we're going to start with the first general one that we know, that if we have a sentence in teenwoordige tyd, which is present tense, our verb is always next to the, or most of the time it's next to our subject. Because remember, how do we write a normal sentence? We have a subject, verb, and object. So onderwerp, onderwerp, werkwoord, and voorwerp. Yes, so that's the order that we follow. That's the normal order that we follow before we even include stompie. I don't know if you've heard of stompie, but yes. So when we go to verlede tyd, the rule that we will use there is we're going to add het next to our onderwerp, and then the verb will go to the end of the sentence and we add ge. And the toekomende tyd, we're going to add sal next to our onderwerp, and then the verb will go to the end of the sentence. We don't add ge. So ge is only added when we are working with the verlede tyd. So here, if we have so this is actually a skybord werkwoord. So that's when you can split a verb into two parts. But here, this skybord werkwoord has a voorzetsel. So you still remember what voorzetsels are, our prepositions. So if we have a voorzetsel in the form of a skybord werkwoord, when we take it to the past tense, we're going to make it now almost like our own skybord werkwoord. So now it's going to be one verb, and we're going to add ge between the two parts of the verbs, and there'll be het next to the onderwerp. So het and sal is always next to the onderwerp. And then in the future tense, we'll just make it one verb, but we won't add ge. So het is a very, very special word. So het can be a hulpwerkwoord, it can also be a main verb. So here we see that het, we use het as a hulpwerkwoord, the auxiliary verb, because it helps the verb to show that this is in the past tense. So what do we do if we have het as a main verb? Like for instance here, ek het 'n nuwe moeder. So now we need to give het the past tense. So the past tense of het is gehad. So we're still going to use het as an auxiliary verb, but also now because we have het as the main verb, we're going to give it a past tense, which will be gehad. And then in the future tense of het will be he. So then it will be ek sal 'n nuwe moeder hê. So here's another example. Ek het 'n foon. We change it to the past tense, ek het 'n foon gehad, and then in the future tense, it'll be ek sal 'n foon hê. Okay, so let's go to our next rule. If a word starts with be, ge, haar, ont, ver, and mis, we do not add anything when it goes to the past tense. So the rest stays the same, that, okay, the verb is next to the onderwerp in the present tense, and then the future tense, it goes to the end of the sentence and we add sal. But when we are in the past tense, we do not add ge to the word. Okay, so those 2, 4, 6, those 7 prefixes are important for you to know when we are working with tenses. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So the next two, you need to be very careful of it. So if you are doing two actions at the same time, for instance, hier die bouwer staan en eet. So the builder is standing and eating at the same time. When you go to the past tense, only the first part of the verb will get ge. So die bouwer het gestaan en eet. And then in the future tense, it's not actually affected. You're just going to say die bouwer sal staan en eet. So it's very important actually in the past tense for you to understand when do you add ge with both words. Because here with our next rule, if two actions are next to each other, but they're not occurring at the same time. They're occurring at different stages. For instance, here, die kamerbediende was en stryk die wasgoed. So they're following, so the house helper washed the clothes, and then after washing, she ironed the clothes. So they're not taking place at once. So if they're not taking place at once, then they follow each other. When you take it to the past tense, you're going to give each one of them ge. So die kamerbediende het die wasgoed gewas en gestryk. And then in the future tense, it's not really affected. You're just going to say die kamerbediende sal die wasgoed was en stryk. So you're still sticking to the rule that you are going to add sal next to the onderwerp, and our verbs will go to the end of the sentence. So now what do you do if we have auxiliary verbs in a sentence? So auxiliary verbs, also known as hulpwerkwoorde, so they are helping verbs. So they're not standing alone in the sentence. They have another verb as well. So they're not the main verb in the sentence. So for example here, ek kan nie vinnig hardloop nie. Kan is my auxiliary verb. Hardloop is my main verb. So when we take it to the past tense, we are going to say ek kon nie vinnig hardloop nie. And when we take it to the future tense, we will say ek sal nie vinnig kan hardloop nie. So now we don't have a future tense for kon. It's just that we're going to use the same word that we used in the present tense as well, kan. But now, because remember, this is our verb. As much as it's not our main verb, but it's still our verb. So it will still be together with the main verb at the end of the sentence, because our rule is that when we are working with tye, our verbs go to the end of the sentence. Okay? So if you have moet in a sentence, in the verlede tyd will be moes, and in the future tense it will still be moet. If you have sal, it will be sou. If you have is, it will be was. But is very special because in future tense is wees. And then if you have wil, it will be wou in the past tense, and in the future tense it will be wil again. Okay, so now what do you do if you have two sentences? So it says hy speel eers, dan doen hy sy huiswerk. So this is a conjunction, a voegwoord. So when you take it to the past tense, you need to take the conjunction also to the past tense. So then you say do, het hy sy huiswerk gedoen. You won't say done. Okay? So another example here, as is also a group 3 voegwoord. So if you have as, you take it to do. Okay. And then let's look at how it will be in the future tense. So in the future tense, we would say the future tense of done is also done. So it doesn't change. It's almost like with our auxiliary verbs. They don't change when they go to the future tense. And also as does not change when it goes to the future tense. So that's it regarding tye. Okay. Okay, so let's look at ontkenning. Another word, a synonym for ontkenning, is negatiewe. So one important rule that you should always remember in Afrikaans, with ontkenning we have double negative. So for example, if I say, okay, if my sentence is ek gaan slaap. So this is the positive, right? So if I want to make the sentence negative, I'm going to say ek gaan nie stop. So do you see the double negative that I use here? So that's a very important rule in Afrikaans. So let's look at some special cases where you have questions. So if the question is, het jy al van Titanic gehoor? You will keep it in question form, but you'll make it negative. So here they forgot to add a question mark, so they put a full stop by mistake. So you're going to keep it in a question form and you're going to say, het jy nog nie van Titanic gehoor nie? So the negative of all is nog nie. Let's look at another example. Wil jy nog kos hê? Wil jy nie meer kos hê nie? So the negative of nog is nie meer. So if you have a bevel, so you're instructing someone to do something, slaan die kat, moenie die kat slaan nie. And here I wrote some extra notes for you that you can write moet nie or you can write moenie. So moenie and moet nie are almost like synonyms that we use. And if you are asking someone to do something, staan asseblief reg op, you would say moet asseblief nie regop staan nie. Okay. So here, the reason why we didn't use moenie is because we wanted to add asseblief as well. Okay. So if you have of, you're going to nog. Okay, sorry. If you have of, you're going to change it to nog and nog. If you had arends as a positive, you're going to change it to narens nie. Because remember, you must always have a double. If you have arends, if you have iets, it will be niks, nie, altyd, nooit, of nie altyd, nie, iemand, niemand, nie, al ooit, nog nooit, nie, alles, niks, nie, moontlik, nie moontlik, nie, iets, niks, nie, so that's just repetition, al iets, nog niks nie, alreeds, nog nie, baie, nie baie nie, or al baie, you can say glad nie. So that's the rules that we have with ontkenning, also known as negatiewe.